We don't know how they came in and all of a sudden, with the snap of a finger, cut our budget down to zero.
That's Bill Goodman, Executive Director of the Kentucky Humanities Council, reacting to massive cuts to federal funding for humanities programs across the country. Those organizations, under the broader umbrella of the National Endowment for the Humanities, are largely funded through appropriations from Congress. For Kentucky Humanities, those cuts impact 70% of their overall budget. That's about $850,000 every year. In Illinois, the federal cuts remove about a third of their total funding. Tennessee is losing $1.2 million, and Missouri is facing cuts of about $2.7 million over 5 years. The cuts are part of President Donald Trump's efforts to fundamentally reshape the federal government using the Department of Government Efficiency. This week on the Crossroads Suncast, what those organizations do and what those cuts could mean for your community. I'm Bryce Patterson. In September 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the National Foundation on the Arts and Humanities Act. In doing so, he created 2 new federal agencies, the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities. That move was part of a massive expansion of the federal government.
For a century, we labored to settle and to subdue a continent. For half a century, we called upon unbounded invention and untiring energy to create an order of plenty for all of our people.
He called it the Great Society.
The challenge of the next half century is whether we have the wisdom to use that wealth to enrich and elevate our national life and to advance the quality of our American civilization.
Part of that reshaping of the federal government, expanding educational opportunities.
The Great Society is a place where every child can find knowledge to enrich his mind. It is a place where the city of man serves not only the needs of the body and the demands of commerce, but the desire for beauty and the hunger for community.
For Goodman, the programs offered by Kentucky Humanities are a way to realize that mission.
Humanities really is what makes us all human. What we learn, what we read, what we learn about our past, what we want to know about our future. It's really how we operate, how we live our daily lives.
Here's what those programs look like on the ground. And there's a lot, so stay with me. Primetime Family Reading hosts reading, discussion, and storytelling programs for kids at public libraries, schools, and community centers. For adults, the Kentucky Reads program hosts reading groups with scholars to help shape discussion. Those programs are a major source of enrichment for local libraries. I'm actually writing the script of this episode ahead of a presentation about the culture of Shaker villages in Kentucky at the McCracken County Public Library. Here's Bobby Wrinkle, adult programming coordinator at that library.
Smaller libraries that can't afford to have a special scholar or special people come and speak to their library are able through Kentucky Humanities to apply through the Speakers Bureau or Chautauqua to get special guests come to their library. And those programs are free and open to the public, and that's so important to the community.
The Speakers Bureau sends scholars, historians, writers, and poets into communities to talk about the things that make Kentucky unique. That's everything from cuisine to culture to African American history in the state. Kentucky Chautauqua brings history to life, with actors giving presentations as key figures from Kentucky's past.
Those kids that might not be learning through the classroom history lesson, but when you have Daniel Boone up telling about coming through the Cumberland Gap in the 1700s, it has an impact on those kids.
Think History provides historical programming for PBS, NPR, and college radio stations at Murray State, Western Kentucky University, and more. Kentucky Humanities also coordinates the Smithsonian Traveling Exhibit. This year, they're highlighting the complex history of Native American groups in the United States and how that's reflected in popular culture. They're still planning to display that exhibit across the state. From August 23rd to September 27th, you can check it out at the River Discovery Center in Paducah. From November 22nd to January 3rd, it will be available at the Hickman County Memorial Library in Clinton. The impact is especially important in places that don't already have access to large, well-funded museums.
There's all kinds of things going across Kentucky that really make a difference, especially rural areas that really, it evens up the haves and the have-nots. everybody gets the opportunities to have these things that really make a difference in your community. We need to learn about our culture. We need to learn about our history. We need to have community events where people live and learn and work together like this.
Kentucky Humanities also organizes the Kentucky Book Festival, publishes the Kentucky Humanities magazine, and provides grants to smaller programs around the state. In total, Kentucky Humanities sponsored nearly 2,500 events from 2020 to 2024 and awarded more than $1.6 million worth of grants to cultural organizations across the state. Goodman says he's concerned about DOGE's ability to cut funding from independent agencies like the National Endowment for the Humanities.
Under what authority did you do that? Since Congress appropriated the money, it should be that Congress takes it away from us if it ever comes to that. That's really looking at waste, fraud, and abuse. But for an independent agency to come into the National Endowment for the Humanities and with the sweep of a pen and a termination letter take those funds away, I'd like to know how they think they can get away with it.
He says there's a mismatch between what they see from DOGE and what they see from elected officials.
I think the Congress delegation, who have always supported us, Jamie Comer loves history just like we do. He wants to see children read at a higher level in Kentucky. Those are the programs that we do, and I think he'll support us in that.
We reached out to Congressman James Comer's office for comment. As of 5 p.m. Thursday, we had not heard back. Those cuts don't mean an immediate end to Kentucky Humanities programming, but they do represent a real threat to the organization over time.
30 years ago, somebody started, if you will, a savings account, and we're able to operate and do at least some of that work for a period of time. But obviously, without robust funding from the private community or a restoration of our funds from the federal government, we will have to one day be looking at that inevitability that we just don't have the dollars to operate.
The National Endowment for the Humanities has fewer than 200 employees. According to a union representing that federal agency, the majority had received termination notices as of April 10th. On January 29th, President Trump reinstated an executive order from his first term in office. It requires the NEH and the National Endowment for the Arts to provide about $17 million each for a sculpture garden honoring figures from American history. If you're concerned about cuts to programs in our area, Goodman recommends reaching out to your representatives. You can learn more and donate to the programming you care about at kyhumanities.org. Reporting for this episode by Charity Blanton, Jaron Von Runnen, and me, Bryce Patterson. Thank you for listening.